Hello and welcome to World Talks. Here every word matters. I'm Anna Kalczyńska. A revolutionary vision or a plan doomed to failure as it adds more uncertainty and instability to the Middle East. Is Donald Trump serious when announcing a proposal of taking over the Gaza Strip and relocating 2 million Palestinians? Experts slam the idea, calling this lunacy and foreseeing America's second Afghanistan. But others point out that no solution proved effective so far to extinguish the conflict. To elaborate on the central problem on the Middle East and on Donald Trump's credibility, I'm joined now by Ivan Vejvoda, Permanent Fellow, Institute of Human Sciences in Vienna. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So 2 days ago in this very studio, I discussed what template could be operational and applicable in Gaza. Yesterday, however, we woke up in a dramatically different situation with an American president stating what follows, and I suggest we take a listen.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
So some say, like foreign policy for that matter, that this is nothing more than annexation of Gaza Strip and also ethnic cleansing. So my question to you is, what is the state of this proposal once voiced publicly? Is it going to be put in place, or is it just subject to further discussion?
Well, first of all, the 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump, came in, and we all knew that he is completely unpredictable. But even the unpredictability here surpassed everything that one could expect. And to say the least, this was a most surprising suggestion that he made at the press conference yesterday while receiving the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The proposal that he gave, and we heard the key elements, was immediately reneged during the afternoon in American time by Donald Trump's press secretary, Karen Leavitt, by senior administration officials, by the new state secretary, Marco Rubio, who insisted that there would be no American troops going, that there would be no American money involved. And then, of course, as you said, the international reaction was very stark, saying, as we all realize, that this would be an egregious violation of international law, tantamount to the ethnic cleansing of about 2 million Palestinians who are there. So it seems that this will not, to answer your question, be feasible. And the Israeli-Palestinian issue is not something that began with the terrorist attack by Hamas on October 7th, but is something that has been lasting for many decades. And in fact, the seeking of a solution, which has always been mostly suggested as a two-state solution, where the two nations would live side by side and find peace in such a compromise, which was close to being achieved under President Clinton, for example, but not to mention the other possibilities, is something that is elusive, and especially with everything that's happened after the October 7, 2023, we don't seem to be close to that. So I think that this will be an evolving story. And of course, the Arab nations that are concerned, a very serious rejection by both Egypt and Jordan, who were offered, quote unquote, to accept these Palestinians. And then, of course, Saudi Arabia, that is a key ally of the United States, gave a very stern reaction, basically rejecting this idea.
Exactly. Let me quote Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, who said that the president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza. His administration is going to work with our partners in the region to reconstruct this region. Exactly. So all that Donald Trump has proposed yesterday basically ruined all the effort of the previous administrations and also undermined the credibility of the United States in the region, if it would happen. But then what is actually the plan? What reconstruction are we talking about?
Well, we are seeing Trumpism in its most pure form here, throwing out an idea that nobody suspected would be coming, throwing it out and seeing what sticks of this idea. If it doesn't stick, we walk back on these issues. President Trump prides himself as a peacemaker. For example, he said, as we all know, that if he had been in office, the Russian aggression and invasion of Ukraine would never have happened. We know that his administration is in talks with the Russian administration to begin talks about a possible ceasefire in Ukraine. At the same time, as you mentioned, the previous administration prepared with the incoming Trump administration the ceasefire that is in its first phase, that has to go into a next phase with the final releasing of the remaining Israeli hostages. So it's a very delicate and fragile moment where this bombshell of a suggestion has come out. And so we're all having to now analyze whether this is at all something that has any traction whatsoever or not, or is it one of these Trumpisms that won't have a long life?
So I would go on asking about the implications for the region, right? Because such a move would basically annul or broke the Abraham Accords, and also the treaties would be undermined between U.S. and Jordan and U.S. and Egypt. So where Donald Trump sees its main ally, is it, as you said, Saudi Arabia, and how can they contribute to solving this very difficult situation?
Well, I mean, it's Saudi Arabia and it's, of course, Egypt, a key ally in the whole issue of the Middle East. We know that all the negotiations that occurred in this past year and a half now, where Qatar, the United Arab Emirates were involved, but Jordan and Egypt as well. So that's why I say that this is a fragile and delicate moment, because you would not want, in theory, to lose your allies. There is and was, during the first Trump administration, this attempt to bring Saudi Arabia and Israel closer for a recognition by Saudi Arabia of Israel. This is now in question at this moment with this proposal. And I'm not sure, and this is one of the reasons why this Trump's proposal may not hold, because if the priority is to soften the relationships in the whole region, in the whole broader region, let's not go into the whole energy issue and oil and the importance of that for the geopolitics. Then we might see that there will be a slow disappearance of this idea of, as President Trump said, building a Middle East Riviera.
Exactly, but it's hard to imagine that the American soldiers would risk their lives with Hamas or put their money, American money, in rebuilding, as just we heard Caroline Leavitt. So what is actually the point of making such a proposal, of throwing it just like this? And we are used to taking every word of an American president very serious. So what does it tell us about the credibility of Donald Trump's statements?
Again, we have to go back to Donald Trump, the president, and the character, the deal maker, the one who is transactionalist, who likes fast decisions and fast results. Now, of course, it's one thing to be in the building business of hotels and Trump Towers. It's, of course, completely different to deal with one of the most burning international issues, as I mentioned earlier, that has been on the agenda of world politics and the United Nations for many decades, 4, 5, 6 decades. I'd also like to mention that the United Nations Secretary General Guterres came out with a very strong statement as well, and that's important given the role of the United Nations, whatever its current weaknesses are. And he said that this was tantamount to ethnic cleansing, and he suggested that maybe the UN take over the Gaza Strip in this initial period for a beginning of a resolution to both the rebuilding, the finding a way for the population of Gaza that, of course, we need to mention has suffered enormously, as well, civilians that need to find shelter, food and water, as we know. There's
Absolutely. This is a very urgent question. You're right. Ivan Vejvoda, thank you so much for being with us this morning and for contributing with your insight. Thank you once again.
Thank you for the invitation.
And that concludes this edition of World Talks. But please stay tuned for more, as news are coming very soon here on TVP World.